Hi all, so I survived for another day. Today was my busiest day, as in my last video I said, 6 hours of back-to-back classes. The last 2 hours was a workshop I had to give. So it's my first time as a student in class. It's been many a year since I was a student. Um, and because it was back to back, there was no kind of margin of time between one class and the next. And so it meant moving around different parts of campus, very much part of the student experience. And the first tutorial had 54 in the classroom. Really huge. That's just the way it rolls, I guess, in psychology. The next one, not as many, but still relatively large. Um, Probably more manageable, I would say. And so it's quite a contrast by the time I got to my workshop that maybe had an attendance of 7 to work much closer. And, obviously as a tutor, you get to know people a lot more easily, including their names, when there's not masses of students. But all in all, it wasn't such a disaster. Um, it's given me some insight, put it that way. So the two units are the self and society. No, something like the personality of the self and others, or I can't remember the name of it. Let me look it up. So far, we've been taking in psychometrics. That was the first one from 10 to 12. Understanding the self and others. And then after that, introduction to experimental psychology, which for some reason I kind of enjoy that a bit more so far, but it's only week 2. I did find out today that for some reason there's a problem with my tax file number. I may have entered it wrongly, or there's a kind of unreconciled record. So I have to ring probably the ATO and find out what's going on and rectify that within 10 business days. Yes, you heard right. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to have my fees covered by help. Hex. Very Australian, yes. But the workshop today was actually really good. The students that were there were a few absentees. They worked really hard, which I'm really glad to see, because it allows us to keep building. Sorry, it's my yerba mate. But I came home, obviously, and I just shut the door. And I'm like, okay, I just have Valium. I'm just gonna relax, and rewind. Yeah, kind of rewind, unwind. I had a really tough sleep last night, so I had to sort of make up for that as well. I don't want to over resort to Mother's Little Helper, but it can be quite instrumental at times, let's say. Yeah, so I still had a bit of a struggle in working up to the day because I got up at 5 between my different identities, if you like, like my writer identity and where I want to go with that, my academic researcher and I guess general dog's buddy, organizer of conferences and facilitator and network maker identity, and now it turns out my postgraduate student identity. And all of them sort of compete with one another for attention and time. And especially with the writer identity, I thought, am I actually making a mistake here? Like, should I actually not be taking on additional hours in this instance of study? But alas, my fears were allayed by the actual tutorials because they weren't really tough, even though there were way too many people in that first one, 54, for my liking, I should say. I actually felt like I got something out of them. So, it's going to be a ride. I'll say that, with all these assessments and competing demands. So, you know, the jury's not out on this. Um, but the people in the class seem nice. In the class, not the class. And yeah, I sort of felt fulfilled by the end. But it's coming back to those different identities that is going to be the challenge, I think. And yeah, especially since the writer identity wants to expand. And my psychologist told me I've got to give more time over to it. Yeah? Uh, I did send out a piece to the journal Foglifter and simultaneously to Spectrum. Excuse me. It's actually an extract from my novella. But I want to keep developing as a writer. That's the thing, right? It's not just publishing. It's also having the time and space to test out ideas and to do the writing and to connect arguably with other writers as well as readers. I don't have those networks. And I think that any number of people that have a kind of career that they've made out of writing, even if it's just one thing they do, and they might have a main job, they really have gone with it, you know? And they're not just doing it as like, oh, we'll see how it goes. They've really, really convinced themselves and they've put themselves in the milieu. They've applied for multiple grants. They've built up a profile. And I can't help but look on with a bit of amusement around that. So there is a writer by the name of Sarah Saleh, and I remember coming across a book of poetry of hers, and I liked some of the work in there, but I didn't realise just how award-winning and prominent she's become. And she's actually a lawyer as well. So how do you do both? Apparently, Song for Poetry has evolved out of spoken word and slam poetry type events. I don't know if it's slam poetry, but she must really put herself in those spaces, right? She must have the energy for it, the conviction. She's a judge of a prize that recently closed. Only found out lately about it. But I believe she's written a novel as well. So she's won the Judith Wright Poetry Award and the Peter Porter one. So it's just like this woman is, really going places and very visible and invited to a lot of things. I'm not saying that I want to be like her or that, I want to be that kind of writer either, but to me it's really interesting. It's really interesting because what drives her? What drives me might be different, but she doesn't seem to be, hanging back in the shadows, so to speak. And she's not the only one, but it's a good example. It's a good example. I do think that there are groups like Sweatshop, also the Arts and Cultural Exchange in Western Sydney, that people are able to connect with and work with and be accompanied by and support each other's work and get that kind of... I mean, it's not a mainstream visibility in the way that some very elevated novelists, people always mention Helen Garner, no shade, but, that's a very different style of writing that arguably has shaped the idea of Australian literature, but it's not now. That's just my opinion. So it's really, writing takes guts. It makes you pull into your gut as well. But you need to be able to have breathing space for it. You can't have too many competing demands, whether it be care responsibilities or, umpteen things that people, by dint of circumstance, sometimes have to take on. And I began to wonder, have I made the right choice? Am I always going to be pursuing academic outcomes and professional ones and forgetting about my creative life and the importance, including in public terms, of having that visibility? I don't know. I don't have the answer, but there was a time when I was younger where I said, okay, definitively, this is not going to work. It's not going to pay the rent. It's not going to do any of those things. And thus I became rightly or wrongly, an academic. I haven't solved it. I don't know. What do you think? I won't make this video too long because, yeah, I don't want to bore you, but make a comment, subscribe.